Hey everyone, this is Mike from Agent 50 TV. Now, I'm going to tell you this up front. This is not going to be a video about boxing. There's not hardly any boxing going on at the moment, but this is more of a political video about the killing, the police brutality that's happened last week. So if you don't want to watch it, turn away now. Obviously last week, you guys have probably noticed that a white cop, killed a black individual named George Floyd live on camera. I'm going to keep it nice and sweet. I don't know if it was a racist act or not. I don't know if the cops are racist. I don't know if the other 4 people in the video are racist. I don't know. I'm just going to tell you what I saw when I looked at that video. What I saw in that video, I didn't see it and see it was a racist act. That's not why I'm pissed off. What I saw when I watched that video was a power move. Plain and simple. It was a power move. I saw an individual choke a guy to death, looking at the camera with the arrogance, believing that because he's a cop, I can kill a man in cold blood and there's nothing that nobody can do about it. That's what I saw when I saw that video. He decided in that moment that he was a judge, jury, and executioner that day. He decided that he was going to end that guy's life today because he can. And there's nothing that nobody can do about it. That's what I saw. And that can't happen. The police is here to protect and serve. That's what they're here for. They're here to protect the public. They don't decide who lives or dies. That's not what they're there for. So when I see somebody like that guy do to what he did to George Floyd, it winds me up because he thinks that he's above the law. And that is what a lot of cops, not only in America, in the UK think as well. They are above the law. They can do whatever they want. They can't get touched because we're cops. That needs to stop now. And when I saw that, I was thinking to myself, why would a cop be that arrogant to believe that he can kill an individual live on camera in front of millions around the world to see and not think there will be no consequence? This guy is not a mafia boss. This guy is not a drug cartel lead. He's not a thug. He's not a gangster. He's not a serial killer. This guy is a cop. He is the law. He should know the law. So why would he have that arrogance? That got me thinking. Why would a cop do this? Because criminals wouldn't be doing that. Even serial killers, if they're about to kill somebody in cold blood and there was a camera in their face, even them would stop and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I'm getting caught on camera. Something may happen. But with a cop? Nah. Cameras don't matter to me. I'm not getting arrested or anyways. So I looked into it and I did some research. I'm not going to lie, it took me 2 seconds. And I saw this video clip about the reasons why cops feel that they can do whatever they want and get away with it.
So on the anniversary of these killings, I want to focus on something that hasn't gotten as much coverage. The system that has allowed this to happen. Because this problem is so much bigger than individual bad cops. There is a separate legal and political framework that shields cops from consequences, gives them special rights when defending themselves, and often trains them to fear the communities that they're supposed to protect.
My name is Seth Stoughton. I'm a law professor. I was a city cop for 5 years, a state investigator for 2.5 years.
How well are police officers trained in this country?
American police officers are some of the best trained in the world, but what they're trained to do is part of the problem.
What are they trained to do?
You need to stay on your guard all the time, because as soon as you're not, someone's going to take advantage of that, and you could die as a result. And it's not just complacency, it's also hesitation. You not only have to be on your guard, you have to be ready to act instantly, not react, but act, sometimes even before a threat fully manifests.
You have to act instantly. New cops are taught to see the people around them as potential threats. And it's made worse by the fact that police departments typically spend 8 hours training officers in conflict de-escalation, in 129 hours training them in weapons and fighting. That can't be the right ratio. Now, Dave Grossman's main move is telling cops that they are natural-born killers.
You fight violence. What do you fight it with? Superior violence. Righteous violence, yeah? Violence is your tool. Violence is your enemy. Violence is the realm we operate in. You are men and women of violence.
If you properly prepare yourself, killing is just not that big a deal. It's just not that big a deal.
How is Dave Grossman not a suspect in every murder? There's so many unsolved homicides in the country, and he's just walking around like killing people is 100% normal. There are a lot of factors at play. Because outside of fear-based training, there's another structural problem with policing: lack of consequences. After they're trained, cops get to play by a completely different set of rules than everyone else. And you might be like, well, yeah, police should have different rules. They're in the line of fire. I hear that. But some of these rules have gone way too far. Did you know it's almost impossible to sue a cop? Because every single cop in the country is protected by a legal concept called qualified immunity. Now, normally, when you sue a civilian, you have to prove that that person violated your rights. But when you sue a cop, you have to prove they violated a right that was clearly established. But a right isn't considered clearly established until someone successfully sues a cop for violating it. It's the police version of trying to get your first job. Remember, like, you go in, you're like, how do I get my job? And they're like, you need previous experience. But you can't get experience without having a job. And you're like, damn it, just let me work at the White House. Why can't I be Secretary of Energy? Just let me do it. Now, even if cops do face consequences, there are often rules in place to ensure that no one ever hears about it. Now, this is true. In about half of US states, police get to keep records of misconduct confidential, which makes no sense. Think about it. If a doctor commits malpractice, you can look that up. If a lawyer fabricates evidence, they get disbarred. The point is, there is no national database on police misconduct, which is crazy. We monitor everything. We know Channing Tatum's sleep schedule for the past 5 years. Now, that's not a government database. That's just something I've been tracking. Channing has sleep apnea. I'm worried. Now, even when states try to make police records accessible, cops find ways around it, which we're seeing right now in California. The state legislature recently passed a law that unsealed police records, and cops aren't having it.
Inglewood City Council approved the action to destroy more than 100 police shooting and other investigation records. Inglewood Mayor James Butts tells us that the decision to throw out these old records has nothing to do with hiding any wrongdoing.
These records were sitting in a storehouse, just gathering dust, taking up space. Some went back as far as 1991.
Yeah, Marie Kondo that shit. It's not like there was police misconduct in Southern California in 1991. The guy's like, look, we don't have any records before then. They burned up in a riot, but I don't know what that was about. Now, qualified immunity and confidential records are big problems. But we can't talk about a system that can incentivize bad behavior without talking about police unions. But the problem is that police unions don't just work to get cops better pay. Many police union contracts shield bad cops from legal consequences. How are police unions blocking reform?
Oh my God, how are they not blocking reform? The collective bargaining agreements that they engage with at individual police agencies will often have provisions relating to police discipline. It may limit how officers are investigated. It may limit how officers are disciplined. It may require that an officer's disciplinary records be cleared every 60 days. That means there's no history even when an officer is engaged in misconduct repeatedly.
Cops are treating misconduct like it's their browser history and they can hear mom running up the stairs. They're like, oh, she's gonna investigate, clear cookies and cash. Your mom comes up and she's like, wow, apparently you've only been looking at Google homepage. And you're like, yeah, mom, I love clean minimalism. That's what tons of cops get to do with their records. And many police contracts go way beyond that. Like in Chicago. After police shot and killed Laquan McDonald, their union deal gave officers 24 hours before needing to say anything after the shooting.
The contract itself institutionalizes these private understandings among police officers that make it harder to identify and root out bad behavior. If we allow a lot of time to pass after something happens, and if we allow people to talk to one another about it, worst case scenario is that time period basically gives them an opportunity to concoct and to collude.
They get a day to put their story together. And remember, this is built into police contracts, and some cops seem to be getting the message that they can act without consequence. A recent study found that when deputies in Florida got union contracts, violent misconduct complaints went up 40%. You only see that kind of spike in violence when you tell Russell Crowe to put his phone away. And if these special rights don't make it into cops' union contracts, they can be put into law with something called a law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights, which I know, it sounds like it was written by the Fox News founding fathers. Look at that room. Their declaration was like, just so you know, only men are created equal. Hannity's like, Article 2, you can still be weird to interns. We're like, yeah, that's a good one. But a law enforcement Bill of Rights is essentially the protections of a union contract in the form of a state law. Police unions have worked with at least 16 states to pass officer Bill of Rights laws, and they come with some jarring provisions.
So after a critical incident like a police shooting, Bill of Rights might say that the officer has the right to review certain evidence, including potentially statements by other witnesses or video recordings of the incident.
Wait, so if they get to review the tape in a proceeding, I get to review the tape too, right?
No.
So let me get this straight. A police officer is under investigation. Before making a statement, they can say, hey, can I look at the tape first?
They can make a demand.
And then they watch the game tape and then make their statement.
Yes.
That's like cheating, though.
It can be.
Plain and simple, that needs to stop now. Like now. Nobody is not above the law. Nobody, especially not police who are here to protect and serve one race, the human race, shouldn't have that kind of power. That needs to change. And I haven't heard nobody in the media, nobody in the public talking about these issues. Riots, looting, that's not going to solve the problem. Because let's face facts, you have been rioting since the 50s, since the 40s, in the 1992 riots. You've been rioting before, and you'll be rioting again, and you'll be rioting in the future. But nothing is not going to change until you look at the real underbelly of what's going on, and that is your police system. That needs to be broken down, and it needs to be built back up from the ground up to something that everybody of all races and creeds can be proud of. Share this with anybody and anyone who wants to see real change and not just talk about it. Peace out.